You need to know your market if you have any hope of ever selling something to them or making some conversions. Hi, my name is William Beam, and that's what we're going to be talking about today is ways that you can understand what's inside the mind of people in the market that you want to serve. So we've got a few things to go through, but some of it really comes down to understanding various needs that they have and also understanding the language they use. And I got a strange email this morning. Well, actually, the email wasn't so much strange, but something in it was, and it was from Miami Swim Week. And this is because I do a little bit of photography, and they're sending this off as a press release, and they're talking about people who are going to be showing up for their designs for women's swimwear. And one of them came along, we're talking about this revolutionary new design and technology in the swimsuit to help women who suffer from diaper butt. And I got to tell you, I never heard of diaper butt. I didn't know anything about it. I looked it up on the Urban Dictionary. Don't go there. You don't want to find out. But the idea behind this kind of reinforced what we're going to talk about today. There is a language in your market that people are using. You want to understand the language that they're using. You want to understand why they're using that language and what they're thinking, feeling, and doing about their problems. And apparently, diaper butt is a problem with women's swimwear. My wife didn't know about this either, and I'm afraid to ask my daughter. But it was an example that just kind of came up today that we're going to be talking about, not specifically that one, but how you want to get inside the mind to know your market. So with that, let's go ahead. I'll start off my little screen share and we'll see what I screw up today because every live is a new opportunity to make a mistake. All right. So let's get going here with knowing your market. And here's what we're going to talk about today. So there are two types of problems. We're going to talk about your core values, who you are behind your business. And we're going to talk about how to create your messaging map to help you get an idea of who you serve and what transformation they're going to make by doing business with you. So let's talk about the two types of problems. The first one would be external problems. And these are the reasons people go to Google or YouTube or some other search engine. They're doing research. They think, I have a problem. I need to find a solution for it. That's the external thing. And they're seeking an answer to a specific problem because that's what you can search for. So here are a couple of examples. I need to lose weight. That's a common problem for a lot of people. I need a fence for my backyard. Okay, so you're probably researching what's the best kind of fence to get? What material? Should I get wood? Should I get vinyl? Should I get stone? Do I want a picket fence? How tall does the fence need to be? Those are the kind of things that people will go off and search. Also, how much does it cost to have one installed? Another example is I need to train my dog because my dog is escaping the backyard. My dog doesn't come when he or she gets called. My dog is having disruptive behavior, so I need to train my dog. Those are the things that people go and search on with Google and YouTube. And most marketers are selling to those external problems. Why? Because that's where they're getting search traffic. But those aren't necessarily the best way to understand what's going on inside of your customer's mind. So that's where we get to internal problems. And these are the thoughts and fears that are going on inside of their head. So let's take a look at what is really the answer to why they have external problems. So the reason I need a fence isn't because I need a fence, it's because I've got some kind of problem and it's the internal problem that you want to address. So here are a couple of examples. I feel unattractive. Well, that's a good reason for wanting to lose weight. I need a safe space for my dogs when I go to work. That's a good reason for needing a fence. I need my dog to obey so I can keep him safe. In other words, if you're out in public and your dog is going rampant and running wild or just lunging at other people because they're so excited, not necessarily because they're aggressive, but they're maybe too excited and they might be frightening people or other dogs. I've seen that happen in the neighborhood where I live. And you need to train your dog so that they know how to be socialized and behave properly when they're out in public. And also, it keeps them from tearing up the house. So, when you understand what drives your market, they'll become drawn to you because you're using the language, you're understanding their problems. People want to do business with someone who really gets them. They want to do business with people who understand what's driving their need because those people can probably do a better job of solving the problem rather than just, I need to put up a fence. So, how to research internal problems. You can look at blog comments, you can look at forums, you can look at Facebook pages, you can go to Quora. There are a number of places online where people talk about their problems and are looking for a solution. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. And you're going to be looking for pain points, frustrations, challenges. You're looking for the people who have a problem. And then you want to see what kind of responses they get. But mostly you want to understand what problems do they have. And then you also kind of want to understand why do they have that problem. So you find the external problem. I need a fence. And they're asking about who does a good job of building a fence in my neighborhood or area. Something along those late. Yeah, there's. I told you things always go wrong on a live. Something that's going on to give them that problem. So then you want to ask politely, so what? I mean, you need a fence. So, so what? You may not want to ask it in just that way, but that's the underlying question you want to get to. What's the big deal about getting a fence? What's the big deal about losing weight? What's the big deal about training your dog? Why is this important? You want to understand why it's important to them. And that's where you start to get to the internal problems. And as I said, you should probably be cautious about the way you phrase these questions. I wouldn't go out and say, so what? But that's what I'm trying to get to is like, so what's the real issue behind the issue? And you don't want to come across as a jerk by just saying, so what? But you want to get to the why behind the problem. And asking the questions politely is a good way to get them to explain their motivation for why they need whatever it is they need, why they're feeling frustrated, why they have a pain point, why they have a challenge. And learn the language that they use when they describe their reasoning, because that's what they're searching for. The way that they're entering a search in Google or YouTube is the kind of language that you probably want to use in your marketing or in your customer journey. You match the same language that your potential customer wants to use. And if you're designing swimwear and women are complaining about diaper butt and you can come up with a solution to that, that is the language you want to use. I'm still just kind of smiling over. I've never heard that phrase diaper butt before, but apparently it's a real thing. All right, so let's talk about how to craft your Google search. You're going to make a list of problems for which your market needs a solution. And that's going to be based upon some of your research, but also things that you know because you should know your market if you're going to be selling a solution for it. So make a list of the problems, the pain points, frustrations, and challenges, and put that down on one side of a list. You're going to make another list of places where you can find comments and discussion. So we mentioned broadly, we talked about Facebook pages and Google searches and Quora, but you want to be more specific than that. What groups on Facebook or Reddit can you go to where people are discussing their problems? So you want to put those things together. And then you can combine these things from list one and list two. So combine problem one from the first list and place one from the second list. And that's what you're going to put into your Google search. So weight loss, Reddit. And on Reddit, there's tons of subreddits. You may want to find out which subreddit they're talking about. But the more you can define the problem and the place in your Google search, the more accurate and relevant results you're going to get coming up with this. And you're going to find things that maybe you didn't know about. You're going to find people who confirm some of the ideas that you had. But more importantly, you may have ideas that you're presuming what people's problems are and find out that it's really something completely different. And that's happened to me a number of times in business and as well as people that I know. So do your research and find your list of problems, your list of places, and put them together. And as best you can, narrow down each of those elements in the list, the problem and the places where you're going to search, and put that in your Google search or your YouTube search or Quora, wherever you're searching for, narrow that down as best you can. So an example as a broad thing could be problem one plus forum. Google knows a lot of forums and you're putting your problem in there, it'll probably come up with some relevant forums for you. That's one way that you can find a list of places. And then as you see the results on the search pages, then you can start seeing which forum are people talking about this problem. And then you can start narrowing down the search criteria that you're going to do. And another one, maybe you know that you want to go to Reddit. So problem two, and that you're going to look for that on Reddit. And then you're going to find out which subreddits are talking about the problem that you've put in there. So you keep repeating this for problems and places in your search. And you want to mix and match everything on your list of problems to all of the places that you have defined and discovered. And then note the language that they use. When people talk about their problems, that's the language they're using to search for their problems. If you want to be found on search engines, or if you're crafting messages for your sales page on your website or emails, if they get them on your email list, you want to use their language. Whatever words and phrases they are using to describe their pain points or the problems that they're trying to resolve, you want to use that language in your messaging. So, we talked about looking for frustrated language. Here are some kind of phrases that kick off things. They say, I wish, I'm frustrated with, my biggest challenge is, how do I? That one in itself is gold. Has anyone else? And what do I do when? So you'll find this kind of language, and maybe you'll find some variations as you're doing your searching, but look for things like this. These words and phrases that we see here are people expressing a need for help. And those are the people, obviously, that you want to help if they fall in the market that you're trying to serve. All right, so let's go on and talk about your core values. And you've probably heard discussions about core values before, but it helps to have these defined so you know who you are, what you're offering, and how you're serving things. It kind of creates boundaries for you as well, because it's very easy to get drawn outside of the line from what you're doing or what you intend to do. And this kind of, for lack of a better phrase, it puts up guardrails of what you do. So think about, what do you stand for? I mean, what's your mission? And your mission, we're going to go over, I think, in our messaging map, but it's really going to help you define, who are the people that you're trying to serve? What are you trying to do for them? And how are you trying to do it? Your mission statement really is kind of broadly covering what it is you do and who it is that you do it for and how you do it. What's your vision? Do you have a different way of looking at the problem or how you serve the problem than some of your competitors do? That can be a tremendous advantage, because if you're just doing Me Too stuff, there's nothing that helps you stand out from the crowd in your marketplace. If you are looking at the problem and you have a new and unique way or a different vision of how to resolve it, that's going to attract some people because they may like your vision better than the Me Too status quo of everybody else. So come up with a vision of how you're going to resolve the problem. And what do you believe or value? And everybody has something they believe or value. And we may not agree. We may disagree on some beliefs or some values. That's okay. You want to attract people that share your beliefs and values, or at least respect your beliefs and values. That maybe they don't exactly align completely with you, but if you tell them who you are, what you believe, and what you value, that is something that people can respect. And if they don't want to do business with you, then they're probably not a good fit for you and you're not a good fit for them. So go ahead. Don't be afraid of the fact that you may lose some people. You're always going to lose some people over one thing or another. And you don't want to get a customer that you end up having a fight with. So let them know what you believe. What do you value? So let's talk about your values a little bit. What do you hold in the highest regard? Is it integrity? Is it your faith? Is it law? Is it something philosophical? It could be any number of things, but think about yourself. What's important to you? What do you hold in the highest regard? And make that a part of how you serve your audience, your market. We're seeing a lot of this going on in the marketplace now, where there are a lot of businesses who are actually getting some backlash from people who were their customers because they've changed what seemed to be their values. And I'm not going to get into the who's right or who's wrong about this, but if you stood for something once and then suddenly you make a shift to another direction, that is something your market is going to realize. And I'm not going to tell you what your values should be or what you should hold in the highest regard. But when you make a sudden shift in your values, it kind of makes people question, how much did you really value what you were telling them in the first place? So I would encourage you to be honest and true to yourself and your business about what your values are. And those really shouldn't change. And that's just something that you keep in mind. I'm not saying that you can't evolve, but think about what your values are and what you hold dear. And if something changes your values, it's going to change your market. And you just simply need to be prepared for that. So, what do you think is true in your market? And I bring this up because we see a lot of marketing that I look at it and I think, well, that's just not true. That's false. And sometimes it's because people are grasping at straws. They're reasoning for anything to make a sale. I think people see through that. I think they inherently respect truth. Whether they agree with what you believe is true or not is different. But if you're true and you hold your values, then that is an advantage for you in your marketplace because you stand for something, you know what's true, you know what isn't true. And what do you think is possible? There may be something that you look at your market and say, no, there's more to it than just what I see. There's something else that's possible here. And let me give you an example of what I saw with my own market and why I started my membership. I was doing web development for businesses, and a lot of small businesses are better funded than maybe some of the people who are working from home and starting up a website. But I was getting a lot of people coming to me that wanted me to start up, help them build a website. And then they found out what the rates were and they just simply couldn't afford it. And that was frustrating. So it came down to, I thought at first I was going to build a course, say, here's how you develop your own website. And there are a lot of people that are doing that. But I realized there's more to it. There's more possible than just the technical aspects of developing a website. There's also what do you put on your website? What is the purpose of a website? And it came down to, I thought, well, the purpose of a website is to do business and you need to make conversions. So that's where I came up with for the membership. I show home based small businesses how to create a high converting website. That kind of changed the possibility. That changed what it is that separates my business from some of the other ones that are just showing here's how you build a WordPress website. There's nothing wrong with here's how you build a WordPress website, but it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. Is like, why am I not making any sales or conversions? Because the people who serve those how to build a website didn't get to the why. And the people that are going to pay for building a website are doing this in a business where they want to make revenue. And they may not know to ask the questions about what do I do with this website to make sure that it's converting well. And that was kind of how I came up with the idea for my membership and the course that's coming forward as well. So that's what's possible is not only can you show people how to build a website, but you can show them how to build a website that helps them succeed in their business. That's the whole idea. Now, what trends or habits drive you nuts? There's something in every market. And I think that this is something where you shouldn't be afraid to talk about something. If it drives you nuts, if it's something that you just see as wrong, I hate to say don't be afraid to make enemies, but I'm going to say don't be afraid to make enemies. You want to build your fan base. And sometimes including one group means you're excluding another group. And that goes back to you don't want to try to be all things to all people because you can't be all things to all people. If something drives you nuts, either come up with a solution for it or recommend that people don't do it. And you're just kind of driving a line there between these habits and trends. There are a lot of trends that come up, and some of them are a flash in the pan, and some of them turn out to be successful. So look at the trends. People are searching for the trends. And if it drives you nuts, don't be afraid to say so, because people are looking at you to be an authority in your market. And that means telling them what you think. So if something drives you nuts, let them know. And what are you absolutely against? And this is, again, where I talked about there may be a dividing line where you think something is absolutely wrong, you don't recommend it, you don't like it, whatever the case may be. Again, you are the expert, you are the authority, but more importantly than that, you are the guide for the people who are going to become your customers or may become your customers. Well, being a guide means letting them know what you think. And if you're absolutely against something, don't be afraid to bring that up. It doesn't mean you have to be insulting. It doesn't mean that you have to take a side in their political or religious or cultural views. But if you're against something and it's relevant to your business, then say that. So when I say absolutely against, I'm saying this within the confines of your business, not overall what your opinion is on everything. You may be absolutely against something that has no relevance to what your business is. I would say leave that out. If there's something in your market and you're against a potential solution that people may ask you if you want to do, then tell them, no, I don't do that. Here's why I recommend that you don't do that. That's what I mean when I say absolutely against. There are a lot of things that you may be for or against that are irrelevant to your customer base, to the market that you serve. Those are things that you just kind of leave out because it's irrelevant. So when I say absolutely against, those are things that are relevant to your market, your solution, and what you do to serve your audience. All right, so now this is where you get to do an exercise. List three core beliefs based upon these questions. And you don't have to do all of the questions. It doesn't hurt to do them all, but look at this as an exercise. Go through these things and find out what it is that you think you believe. And then you're going to use that in your messaging and your marketing for your product or service. And that's going to be what helps you speak the language of the audience that you want to attract. All right, so I've got a quote here from John Adams. Virtue is not always amiable. And the idea behind that is you stand behind your core beliefs, and it may not be friendly to everyone. And I'm not suggesting that you be friendly and carefree to everyone. I don't want you to insult people, but not everybody's going to be attracted to your virtues. And sometimes you do need to take a stand on what you believe and what you stand for. That's what this little quote means. Virtue is not always amiable. It's not everybody is going to like you, not everybody is going to love you, but the people who relate to you and what you offer are going to be attracted for the core values and virtues that you find attractive and that you use in your business. All right, so let's talk about creating your messaging map. All right, I want you to get a piece of paper. You can probably do this on a spreadsheet if you're like me and you don't like handwriting very much. But you're going to make a T chart. So what you're going to do is you're going to start at the top. You're going to draw a line down the center. And then on the left side and the right side for the headings, you're going to put in a couple of things. So for the heading on the left side, you're going to create a headline that says now. And this is the state where your customer is today, before they've had your solution. And what you're going to do with the now state is you're going to brainstorm what your customer or potential customer is thinking, feeling, and doing. And I want you to remember those three things: thinking, feeling, and doing. So we're going to start at the end. Doing is where they're going through and they're doing those Google searches. They're doing the YouTube searches. They're looking for a solution to their problem. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Well, feeling is an easy one to get at. For example, someone who is feeling or thinking or doing a search for weight loss, for example, they're feeling unattractive. They're feeling unhealthy. Maybe some people are looking at things, they're confused about what to do next. Maybe, the people who have a dog that's wild and untrainable, that they think they feel like, I can't control my dog. I feel like something bad is going to happen to my animal if I don't get them in shape. And what are they thinking? They're thinking, I don't know what to do. I need to find something. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? And what are they doing? These are things that you're going to use in your communication. And this is the exercise that's going to help you come up with a language for your messaging that will really speak to the inner problems that the people that you want to serve are thinking, feeling, and doing. This is where you get into their language. On the right side, you're going to create another headline. It's going to call the future state of your customer with their solution. So after they've bought your solution and implemented it, and don't forget, implement is important because just buying it doesn't solve anything. But once they've implemented whatever it is that you're providing as a solution, now you're going to contrast the list that you just made in the now state to what they're thinking, feeling, and doing after their problem gets solved. So they're thinking, this is so much better. They're feeling confident. They're feeling secure. What are they doing? Well, they're doing something else now. They're not searching for results to their problems. They're getting on with their life. So what is the contrast between where they were and where they want to be? And that is part of your messaging as well. You're going to help people get from where they are now with the problem to where they want to be. And that's what we're going to put in your messaging map. So take a look at this. I help and market. So this is the audience that you serve. These are the people that have the problem that you want to help resolve. Go from now 1, now 2, and now 3 to a future 1, 2, and 3 state. So now 1, now 2, and now 3. Those are 3 of the problems that you found when you went through that exercise, what they're thinking, feeling, and doing. So I help let's use my example for it. I help home-based small business go from confused, frustrated, and impatient to feeling confident, secure, and profitable. That's the idea that I have behind my membership, is to help them get from one place to another. Now, there are a lot of steps in between going from their now state to their future state. In my case, I have 5 steps that I guide them through, but that's part of your messaging. You're going to give them the promise that you can understand where they are. You can take them through a transformation from that state to a future state where they feel so much better, their problems are resolved, and now they can get on with what they really want to do. Because once they get over that hurdle, once they've got beyond that problem, now they can live the life that they want to do. Now they can have the business that they want to have. And this could happen for any kind of market. It can happen for entertainment. I'm bored. I'm lonely. I've got nothing to do. To suddenly, now I've got something to entertain me. I'm happy. I'm relaxed. I look forward to the next episode of whatever it's going to be. You can use this for any kind of market. So let's just recap that a little bit. There are 2 types of problems. And actually, I'll throw in a third one. We mentioned external problems. We mentioned internal problems. And those are most of what you're going to market to. The third kind of problem is philosophical. And that's where somebody has their sense of right and wrong, or justice or injustice, or good and bad. So, for example, when Christmas time comes around, there's going to be somebody out there with a bucket ringing a bell looking for donations. If you give them a donation, that is a philosophical kind of problem. You feel better because you're helping somebody else. So that's a philosophical kind of thing. And you can use that in your marketing, but I'm going to suggest that most of your benefit is going to come from understanding the external and internal problems and really marketing to the internal problems. It's not to say you can't market to the external problems. Most businesses do. But when you understand the language of the internal problems, that's where you're really going to connect with your audience. So we talked about your core values. This is where you let people know who you are, what you stand for, what's important to you. And those are the things that you're going to use to commit to solving their problems. And then we talked about your messaging map. This is how you identify what their problems and frustrations are by understanding their thinking, their feeling, and their doing. And then you're going to contrast that to what happens after they've implemented your solution to what they're thinking, feeling, and doing. That contrast is critical. You want to make sure that there is a transformation between their pain point and to the resolution of that pain or frustration. And that's what you're doing with your messaging map. So now you can easily go off and tell people, here's what I do. I take this group of people from problem 1, 2, and 3 to a state where they have, in the future, where they have 3 resolutions, 3 things that are better in their life. And that's something that the people who have a problem want a resolution, and they want to know that there is a path to get there. That's what you're doing with your messaging map. And that's about all I got to say about that. So thank you very much. I see I've got a comment from Robin. Let's move this over here. And Robin, thank you for that. I really appreciate the comments. I love getting some interaction. And that is just something that really makes me happy. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. And other folks, if you have comments, please leave them below. And I'd really love to know, what is your market and what are you doing to try to attract them? Do you think that what we've gone through over here is something that is helpful for you? And are you going to implement it in your business moving forward? So thanks very much. I will see you again next Thursday.